Hi, welcome to video 4 of 5 in the series all about log parsers. If you've jumped into the series partway through, don't forget to go and check out the introduction, because that'll make a lot more sense when you carry on. Otherwise, let's look at the log parser from Esprow. Okay, so we've had a couple of free tools which are really just designed by people who are doing it in their spare time. Time for us to take a look at some of the tools that are available from some vendors. So Esprow is one of the vendors in the FIX space. And on their website, they have this link here up here in the header bar to FIX tools. There's a variety of different tools in here that you can access. One of those is actually a message parser. Now, I do have to highlight the fact that there's a difference between a message parser, a single message parser, and a log analyzer. The log analyzer says that it's coming soon at the time that we recorded this. Hopefully they'll get there in the future. But right now we're using the message parser, which means that when I paste in my string, actually I have to paste in a single line. It will only handle a single line. It won't handle multiple lines, which is a constraint versus the other tools. The other thing that you'll notice here is that in my previous examples, I was pasting in the SOH character, the true SOH character. In fact, both Aprix and target comp ID could handle different types of delimiters. In Esprow's case, it looks as if it only really likes the pipe, or at least that's the only one that I found that works. Certainly the SOH character does not work, but pipe does. So with those two things in mind, let's get started and let's click the parse button. So when we parse it, we see again the idea of this conversation. So the FIX spec to Tom participant, which we saw in Aprix, is very reminiscent of the Aprix one. And we have our message type here, which is a mass quote acknowledgement in this particular case. We know that this is the only one that actually contains the full description of the tag at any point in time. And that's kind of cool, right? Sometimes you really do need to understand exactly what the tag means. You don't really want to make a link somewhere else to go and find it. Although one of the other tools that's on the Esprow site is this dictionary browser, where you can actually go in and look at any particular FIX message from the standards. And these links here, these hypertext links, will take you into that dictionary. So you can drill in if you want into various different fields. Unfortunately, while they've shown the description, what they haven't done is they haven't actually shown the decoded enumeration. And that would have been a really nice thing. So here, the security ID source, 22 equals 4. In the other two parsers that we saw, that would be decoded into being an ISIN. Actually, in Esprow's case, they haven't actually told us it's an ISIN. They've just described what the tag is. And that's unfortunate, because that's really what people need to understand when they're looking at these messages. The other thing that is kind of noteworthy here is there's no support for repeating groups. So this number of quote entries, for example, is the start of a repeating group, and it's in no way indented. So it becomes a little bit difficult to actually understand the structure, the overall structure of this particular message. There's also nothing to indicate whether any of these fields are actually wrong. So you remember before that we saw this 1167 equals 5, that was flagged up in some of the other parsers as being an incorrect field. Actually, Esprow is identifying this as an account field, but it's not indicating that 5 is an incorrect number. It's just accepting it as being a valid number. So there's a couple of limitations then with this Esprow parser. There are some highlights, however. It does have some pretty cool export functions. So in here, you can export this log, this decoded message to either an image, so it'll actually create a JPEG for you of this particular image, so you can email that to somebody else, which is kind of cool. You can also export it into Excel, which will show you the raw message itself, some of the key information in terms of who the sender and target comp ID were, and a full detail of the description and the converted values. Those are very cool. Those are actually quite useful little functions. On the filtering side, it's not as powerful, to be honest, as some of the other ones. It has this pretty simplistic search box. It's quite difficult for me to actually go in and search anything else. That said, I suspect that is purely because here we're dealing with a single line message parser, and therefore the need for filtering is not as great as it was in the other parsers where we're actually dealing with multiple lines. So a mixed bag with the Esprow thing. There are some clear constraints in this in terms of single line at this point in time, and a lack of support for a number of different delimiters. But nonetheless, the idea of showing the full description of the tag is actually quite useful, and having it link into the dictionary is also quite useful as well.